The Son generated means the Son fathered, brought into existence, caused to exist by the Father. That's quite clear. So Matthew 1:20, which is critically important, the Son of God is fathered in Mary. The Spirit is sent by Jesus at Pentecost. It comes from the Father through Jesus.
It has to do with the Filioque.
Okay, Filioque is they argued for years about whether the Spirit came.
Right. Yeah, I think they use text maybe like this, John 15:26. When the Parakletos or the Advocate comes, whom I will send to you from the Father. So they're the Parakletos, another name for the Holy Spirit, comes from the Father.
Yeah, of course.
The Spirit of Truth which goes out from the Father.
Yeah, okay, that's the preceding one. That's fine. It really wouldn't matter, but since they argued about it, we'll simply comment on this and say the Spirit comes from God and from Jesus. Jesus actually sends the Spirit under the authority of God. And so the Spirit of God in the New Testament is indistinguishable in its effects, I would say, from the Spirit of Jesus. And that phrase is rare, but you do find it in Acts, the Spirit of Jesus. It's God or Jesus indistinguishably extending themselves. And God is the one who originates all spirit. Jesus breathed on them at one point and said, receive Holy Spirit. They then fully received the Spirit at Pentecost. That was a special public demonstration. The earlier one was he breathed on them. That's the verb that's used in Genesis. The breath of God was breathed into man and he became a living soul. That's the physical creation of Adam and Eve. Then Jesus initiates the new creation by breathing on them, using that same word. Then at Pentecost, they received a public demonstration on a grand, massive scale where 120 of them probably, or 12, doesn't matter which, spoke in foreign languages unlearned. And later in Acts, they were filled with Spirit again. So we tend to be very hair-splitting in our Bible study. I would suggest just take a broader view and don't say it has to be this and not that. Sometimes, of course, it is true. It is this and not that. But very often, both things are true. The Spirit comes from both God and Jesus.
A verse in Acts 2:33.
Okay,
so exalted to the right hand of God, Jesus, he has received from the Father the promised Holy Spirit and has poured out what you now see and hear.
Good. Fine.
So it sounds like it's from God to Jesus and then from Jesus to us.
Absolutely. Exactly. That's a very good point. Just like the book of Revelation is a revelation from God through an angel, through Jesus to John. So there's a hierarchy there. Beautiful. Good point. Thank you.
Right. So I think to be fair to the Filioque thing, some
and the Son
priests did say that it proceeded from both the Father and the Son. And then the debate got into, well, isn't it just the Father? But the interesting thing about these early debates that people are not aware of, Anthony, is that even the so-called Cappadocians, which are the so-called architects, even they recognize the so-called monarchy of the Father.
Yes, they did.
In other words, they always recognized that the person of the Father was first in rank, if you will, was above both Son and the Spirit. They're not really Trinitarians as we know Trinitarians today, even those church fathers.
You're talking there about the Eastern Orthodox Church, where they say that the Father is himself God. He's the super God. And so he has a monarchy, a supreme rulership in the divine system. And the Eastern Orthodox friends still believe that to this day.
Yeah, he was God par excellence.
Yes.
And it's reflected in the creeds, even the Nicene Chalcedonian Creed.
Yes.
That begins with, we believe in one God the Father, maker of heaven and earth.
Yep.
So that's the so-called monarchy of the Father, where he obviously is above both both so-called persons of the Trinity. And this is something that's recited today. But really, Trinitarians of today are not the Trinitarians of 2 millennia ago.
No.
That's for sure.